What does it say about a person when they choose the weakest looking target in the room? And what does it say about a community when they refuse to let cruelty win? My friends, stay with me, because in the next few minutes, you're going to witness something that might shift the way you see strangers, courage, and the quiet power of standing together. Before we begin, hit subscribe to Echoes and Struggles. If you believe in kindness, if you believe in justice, and if you believe in standing up for people who cannot stand up for themselves, this is your home, and this is your story. Now, let's step into the moment everything changed. The slap echoed across the convenience store like a gunshot. A bag of groceries hit the floor. Cans rolled under the shelves. A bottle shattered, glass spraying across white linoleum. And in the middle of aisle 3, with fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, a trembling old man pressed both hands to his cheek, while a young, broad-shouldered stranger towered over him, fists clenched, chest heaving. "Pick it up," the young man growled. "You think you get to slow everybody down?" Customers froze. A woman gasped. A child hid behind his mother. No one moved, not yet. But they would. And what happened next would silence that young man and restore everyone's faith in humanity. Arthur Miles was 78 years old, a retired history teacher from Dayton, Ohio. 5'6", thin build, soft voice, white hair that curled gently over his ears. Every morning he put on the same brown coat, the same wool scarf, the same steady smile. Widowed for 13 years, his apartment was quiet. Too quiet for a man who once spent his days explaining ancient heroes to restless teenagers. He lived off a modest pension, clipped coupons, and walked instead of driving. He preferred it that way. It gave him time to think. Every Wednesday, Arthur visited the same small convenience store at the corner of Maple and Rose. He always bought the same things: a loaf of bread, a carton of milk, 2 apples, and a little bag of peanuts for the squirrels he fed in the park. He was gentle, soft, unhurried, and that made him, in the eyes of some, an easy target. The trouble started when Arthur reached for his wallet. The zipper on his coat snagged. His hands, stiff from age, fumbled with a pull tab. The line behind him grew longer. A sigh somewhere, a mutter from someone else, and then a shove. A muscular 22-year-old named Darren Pike pushed past him, knocking Arthur's groceries from the counter. "Move," Darren barked. "You're holding up the line." Arthur bent down, embarrassed, murmuring an apology as he kneeled to gather the fallen items. But Darren didn't stop there. He slapped the old man's hand away. "You deaf or just stupid?" he said. The whole store went silent. The cashier, a nervous college student, froze mid-scan. 2 teenagers by the drinks cooler stared with wide eyes. A woman with a toddler held her breath. But no one stepped forward. Not yet. Arthur lifted his gaze. His voice shook. "You didn't have to do that." Darren leaned closer, smirking. "Didn't have to? Old man, I can do whatever I want." Pause for a moment. "Let me ask you something. Have you ever watched someone get mistreated and felt that battle in your chest? The fear of stepping in versus the guilt of doing nothing? Type yes in the comments if you've ever been in that moment. And if you've ever wished you'd done more, this next part is for you. Before we continue, hit like if you believe we need more courage in this world. Now let's go back to that store, to the second everything changed. Darren bent down and shoved Arthur again. And that's when it started. A hand reached out. Not old, not weak, steady. It belonged to Jasmine Carter, a 28-year-old nurse buying water on her lunch break. "Hey," she said sharply, stepping between them. "You don't talk to him like that." Darren scoffed. "Mind your own business." But Jasmine didn't move. Her eyes didn't waver. Behind her, a man in a construction vest stepped forward. "She's right," he said. "Back off." Then an elderly woman with a cane. Then a teenager in a varsity jacket. Then a mother with a stroller. One by one, they formed a half circle around the old man. The cashier swallowed hard, opened his mouth, and with a trembling voice said, "Sir, the whole store is asking you to stop." Arthur, stunned, looked at the faces around him. Faces he didn't know. People he'd never met. All standing for him. His lip quivered. A tear welled. Darren looked around, eyes narrowing as he realized the crowd was no longer afraid of him. Every customer's gaze was locked on him. Every breath in the store had turned cold. "Man, whatever," Darren muttered, stepping back. "You're all soft." But nobody moved. Nobody broke eye contact. He wasn't intimidating anymore. He was outnumbered, outshot, outgrown, and so he left. The door slammed behind him. The tension broke. People exhaled. A few clapped softly. Jasmine knelt beside Arthur. "Are you hurt?" she asked. "No, just shaken," Arthur said, voice cracking with gratitude. The construction worker gathered the groceries and placed them gently into Arthur's basket. The older woman with the cane held his elbow as he slowly stood. The cashier apologized, voice trembling with guilt. And the teenage boy, the one in the varsity jacket, said something that struck everyone. "Sir, you remind me of my grandpa. I should have stepped in sooner." Arthur's eyes filled again. He looked at the circle around him, people who had been strangers only minutes ago. "Thank you," he whispered. "I didn't think anyone would help." Jasmine responded softly. "We look out for our own here." The line rearranged. Someone offered to pay for Arthur's groceries. Someone else carried his bag outside. The mother with the stroller hugged him gently before leaving. And for the first time in years, Arthur felt seen. Not as a burden, not as a slow, fragile old man, but as a human being who mattered. Weeks later, Arthur returned to the same store, but something was different. The cashier greeted him by name. The construction worker nodded from across the aisle. The teenage boy high-fived him. Even Jasmine, the nurse, smiled and asked about his health. The whole store, once filled with indifferent strangers, had become a little community. And Arthur, well, he started teaching again. Not in classrooms, not with chalkboards, but with conversations, with wisdom, with laughter. He became the old man people looked for, the one they greeted, the one they protected. Because sometimes, the person everyone assumes is weak is actually the one holding them together. And sometimes, the moment one person stands up becomes the moment everyone remembers what courage looks like. My friend, what kind of world are we building? One where we walk past the vulnerable, or one where we surround them with strength? Are you building towers to stand alone, or bridges that carry others with you? If this story touched your heart, comment, "I choose courage." Let's make that our promise today. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to Echoes and Struggles so more people can hear stories that restore faith in humanity.